They released the full video. I watched it. A young woman's final moments captured in brutal clarity. Iryna Zarutska, 23 years old, who fled Ukrainian warfare seeking American safety. She found death instead. Not from a stray bullet or random violence, but from a man with 14 arrests who would have been locked away years ago. The same judges who freed him now pretend to care. The same politicians who gutted our justice system now offer empty condolences. This is not about a murder. This is about a system so broken that career criminals walk free while innocent refugees die. What you're about to hear will make your blood boil. Now, Patriots, what we're about to discuss is heartbreaking and disturbing, but we must briefly acknowledge our sponsors who do keep this operation, this truth-telling operation, running. Imagine an opportunity that could grow your wealth while also strengthening your country's future. That is the vision behind Western Star Resources. Western Star Resources is an experienced, publicly traded gold and silver exploration company with a proven track record in advancing high-potential projects. The company combines deep geological expertise with modern exploration techniques to unlock value in some of North America's most prospective mineral regions. With domestic demand for precious metals continuing to rise and with the U.S. government backing stronger domestic exploration, Western Star Resources is positioned for the next stage of growth. Check them out. The link is in the description, westernstarresources.com. Now, we've been tracking the senseless assassination of Charlie Kirk, and we've also been tracking the senseless murder of Iryna Zarutska. As you know, the media has been completely silent on it. Charlie Kirk's last post reflected upon it. The media refuses to acknowledge what it is. Bill Maloosia nuking the Democrat Party and the media for wall-to-wall support of an MS-13 alien, Kilmar Garcia, yet ignoring Iryna Zarutska.
22nd. It's been on August 22nd. This was a couple of weeks ago. And the media had to be goaded into covering it once the video came out. You talk about all the coverage, the breathless coverage with Daniel Penny. You talk about how media and politicians love to talk about migrants and refugees. Look how much coverage Kilmar Abrego Garcia got. How many press conferences were there for him? How many people flew to El Salvador to visit him? Where are the press conferences for this young Ukrainian woman? It's been crickets.
It has been crickets. The full video of her death has been posted. The images are strong. We're not going to present it here, but it is horrible to witness. She was killed by a black man who already had 14 arrests and whom a black judge let go free. Those from the Black Lives Matter movement won't say anything about this case. If it were the other way around, they'd already be burning the USA and the entire world to the ground. Few say it, but we won't stop saying it. White lives matter too. Piers Morgan saying it's a wake-up call for humanity. Yesterday's uncensored, debated coverage of the murder of Ukrainian refugee Iryna Zarutska. And tomorrow he will be covering Charlie Kirk.
Broken loose. He was reportedly heard saying, "I got that white girl," after killing her. Which, you know, if it was the other way around, if that was a beautiful young black girl who had been murdered by a white man who'd said, "I got that black girl," I think all hell would have broken loose in the mainstream media. And I say that as someone who's been in the mainstream media for a long time, right? So it's on video. It's literally on video.
We have no evidence. I mean, I'm astonished, truly, Piers, hearing what I'm hearing today, that it's just not a sexy story. We only cover things that people care about, as if you shouldn't care about the death of a beautiful, innocent 23-year-old girl who fled a literal war zone to come to the United States and live a peaceful, prosperous life, coming home from her work shift to be brutally murdered, presumably simply because of her skin color and what she looks like. And we can say we have no evidence or we don't know what the real motive was in this situation all day long. But the truth is, in an 8-minute video that has now been viewed billions of times on social media, I hope at this point, we hear twice, not once, but twice, "I got that white girl," coming out of the mouth of the man who decided to commit this heinous crime. This is something that should be a firestorm for our culture, but it's incredibly telling to me that within moments after George Floyd's death, you saw the Catholic University of America instantly put up a mural of the Virgin Mary cradling George Floyd. You saw an Instagram trend that took over every single leading company, brand, influencer, celebrity's account, spurring millions of people to post a black square. And you saw our society change overnight with the rise of the Black Lives Matter movement. But now you can see literal days go by with CNN having 42,000+ stories of George Floyd on their website and 0 search results for Iryna Zarutska within several days after an attack like this happens. And the Wall Street Journal wait to weigh in on this until days later on page 5 of the newspaper, in which their only headline was "Women's Stabbing Death Becomes MAGA Talking Point."
Right.
This is the clearest window into how much the media is doing everything they can to pit people against each other. And I, for one, am kind of grateful for how disgustingly they're treating this, because it's a wake-up call for humanity to realize we don't have to live this way. We don't have to expect that this is normal on a train ride home from work in Charlotte, North Carolina, for a beautiful young girl trying to provide for herself and create a better future. And the expectation that this should be a normal response to this outrage is disgusting to me.
He was reportedly heard saying, "I got that white girl," after killing her, which, you know, if it was the other way around, if that was a young...
He says there's no evidence of that. But clearly the audio tells a very different story. Charlie Kirk, in one of his last social media posts, had this to say: "If we want things to change, it's 100% necessary to politicize the senseless murder of Iryna Zarutska, because it was politics that allowed a savage monster with 14 priors to be free on the streets to kill her."
I do say this.
On August 22nd, Iryna Zarutska was stabbed to death on the rail system in Charlotte, North Carolina, by a savage career criminal.
Her life story, I think, will be told both in the United States and Ukraine for years to come. What do you think the importance of this story is, most fundamentally?
This was one of the coldest, most senseless murders I've ever seen. She had no interaction with this guy whatsoever. She was sitting minding her own business, and he just takes out a knife and just decides to stab her. I do say this with some form of just heaviness. I don't like politicizing situations like this, but it just necessitates it because there are so many dynamics at play here. Based on the information evidence we have, the attacker did say, "I got that white girl." The attacker racialized it in his own telling of this situation. And we all know this. Any honest observer of your program knows this, including Van Jones even knows this deep down, which is that, of course, if a random white person on a subway took out a knife and stabbed a black girl senselessly to death, there would be massive media coverage. There would be policy changes. There would be people having to apologize for this. We saw this in George Floyd, and yet, for whatever reason, this situation has not garnered even a fraction of that kind of outrage or backlash.
On August 22nd, Iryna Zarutska was...
And 24 hours later, Charlie Kirk would be gunned down by an assassin's bullet. PBD podcast posting this. Van Jones, we don't know why that man did what he did. And for Charlie Kirk to say we don't know it just because he's white, there's no evidence of that, is pure rage mongering.
We don't know why that man did what he did. And for Charlie Kirk to say we know he did it because she's white, when there's no evidence of that, it's just pure race mongering, hate mongering.
Russ Ferguson, U.S. Attorney for the Western District of North Carolina, says federal charges against the Charlotte killer are to make sure that violent people like this don't see the light of day.
That are trying to get to work. I mean, classically, this is a state crime, or it's a stabbing, it's a murder. Those are all state crimes. But this is a unique crime because it happened on a public transit system. And that affects the American way of life. Those are people that are trying to get to work. They are trying to get to college for their classes. They are trying to get to their families. And because of that, Congress was very wise and created a federal statute that said, is it a federal crime to commit an act of violence on a mass transportation provider? And that's exactly what we have here. So we've brought that charge. With that charge, we have the ability to supplement the state first degree murder charge. And so we're seeing this more as a add-on to that charge, a supplement, a backup to that charge to make sure that violent people like this don't see the light of day again. I mean, classically.
Federal charges now for that murder. Now, Decarlos Brown Jr., speaking from jail for the first time since the brutal murder, claims the government implanted materials in his body that made him commit a horrific crime.
So you said something in your body did what?
Nah, the material, put it like this, the material used in my body to stab the lady.
And so she just got stabbed.
Yeah. You know that's not me. I'm talking about just for no reason. But since they did that, now they got to investigate the material in my body exposed to. Since they want to do all that, now they got to investigate.
It's funny because she's from the Ukraine. She's from Russia, and you know they got a war. They had a war going on against the United States. So I'm just trying to understand, out of all people, why her?
It ain't. I don't have nothing. They just lashed out on her. That's what happened. They lashed out on her. Whoever was working the material, whoever was working the material, they lashed out on her.
So you said something in your body.
So he's claiming there was something in his body. Of course, people are going to immediately seize on that, calling it an MK Ultra operation. Maybe that's what he's trying to, he's building his defense. As you heard him say, they got to investigate it. They got to investigate it now because he makes a claim. Yeah. Good luck with that. Here's Fox News' Trace Gallagher slamming CNN anchors.
Trump is now, CNN's Aaron Burnett says, quote, Trump is now seizing on the video of Zarutska's murder. But shouldn't somebody seize on it? Shouldn't somebody seek a solution? Shouldn't somebody point out the accused killer was arrested 14 times, walked free 14 times, was diagnosed with mental illness while walking free 14 times? Another CNN anchor, Abby Phillips, says, quote, people are murdered every single day. I'm trying to understand why this has become such a flashpoint on the right. Is she saying murders are so dime a dozen that it doesn't warrant coverage? Or is it this murder that doesn't warrant coverage? Because if somebody tried to stop this killer, CNN would have demanded a trial and covered it gavel to gavel. CNN's Aaron Burnett says, quote, Trump is now seizing on the video of Zarutska's murder.
Defiant L's posting that white people only respect violence, and that's why I do not hesitate to jump down their throats anytime they try to play with me. What?
Fucking throats. White people only respect violence. And that's why when I'm outside of work, I don't hesitate to jump down their motherfucking throats.
Wow. People are sick. CNN panel attacking Caroline Downey for saying the killer of Iryna Zarutska should have been locked away for life.
Schizophrenia. He should have been locked away for life because he was threatening the public. He was a menace to society.
He should have been locked away for life for what now?
He should have schizophrenia.
You want him to?
You actually said that. I can't believe you actually said that. Somebody should be locked away in jail forever for schizophrenia.
Isolated.
Did you really say that?
Isolated.
Did you really say that?
In an institution.
Is this actually? This is
what you're saying is that this man should have been roaming the streets.
I'm saying that you don't lock people in prison for schizophrenia.
An institution.
What kind of institutions? Institutions in terms of mental health care services.
Yes.
If you're talking about providing full wraparound services for people, I understand that, but at some point, people do get out when they have been treated and rehabilitated.
Sure, but that didn't happen here. He didn't go to an institution at all.
But you're
and
advocating.
So he stabbed a woman and said he should be locked away for life.
There's thousands and thousands of people in America, more than tens, hundreds of thousands, who have been diagnosed with schizophrenia that are walking around and that are leading fairly normal lives because they are under treatment.
A lot of people. So
are we going to lock up everybody with schizophrenia for life?
He demonstrated.
Oh my goodness, it makes me so sick. Hakeem Jeffries shrugs off 14 arrests of Iryna Zarutska's killer when asked by Lindell TV's Allison why a violent repeat offender was released 14 times.
Soft on crime Democrat. Curtailing off of that topic of Iryna Zarutska, who was tragically and horrifically murdered, I'm curious, it seems that it could have been completely preventable because this man who murdered her was arrested and released about 14 times. He had a mile-long rap sheet because of soft on crime Democrat policies, it seems. I'm curious what Congress is prepared to do to really force judges to keep violent criminals locked up, or at least, for an appropriate length of time.
I think it's outrageous that people are trying to politicize the death of this wonderful young lady. It's outrageous that anyone would politicize their death. What decency do people have at a moment like this, as opposed to trying to find common sense solutions? One thing I can tell you that's also outrageous is that Donald Trump pardoned hundreds of violent felons who brutally beat police officers. And the soft on crime Republican policy inherent in pardoning violent felons has resulted in people all across America subsequently being violently victimized by those January 6 violent felons who were released back into communities all across America. That's soft on crime Republican policies. How dare people try to politicize this tragedy right now?
Yeah, it needs to be politicized, just like Charlie Kirk said. Okay, and calls for, now he's Hakeem Jeffries making a 180-degree turn. He now condemns the attack, calls for nationwide crackdown on crime.
Was a horrific incident, and our thoughts and prayers, heartfelt sentiments go out to the family. No family should ever experience anything like this. And by all accounts, the victim was a bright, vibrant, hopeful, optimistic person who was contributing to her community in Charlotte, and the sky was going to be the limit in terms of what her life would be like and how she was going to benefit others by continuing to shine brightly. It's a horrific situation, and we should continue to examine thoughtful and decisive ways to drive down crime in the United States of America.
A little late for that, buddy. Magistrate judge, this is from, looks like Amuse posting this. Magistrate judge releasing violent criminals without bail often aren't even lawyers. We have this, the 10K mural idea. I believe they're going to be putting murals up around the country with her.
Muralist, and you want. So I love the Iryna mural idea, but I'm realizing the biggest issue is finding businesses that are willing to let somebody paint. Well, I own Southern Gun and Pawn, and I have this big, beautiful wall here that's perfect for a mural. We get 25,000 cars a day across this road. So if you're a muralist and you want a place to paint this, I've got this for you. So guys, share this, tag people in it, repost it. Let's find a muralist to come get one of these murals going so they can earn that 10K. And I ask other businesses to be bold and offer up your wall space for this artwork.
Oh my goodness. It's been revealed that the 34-year-old Decarlos Brown Jr. spent more than 5 years in prison for a felony charge, in and out of prison for a decade.
At least 14. Legally, he is the suspect in this case. And also no stranger to law enforcement with a rap sheet that dates back more than a decade. Authorities arrested him at least 14 times for a long list of crimes, including robbery and assault. And this is a man who spent more than 5 years in prison in one felony case and has a known history of mental illness. Law enforcement knew for years he's dangerous. He now faces a federal charge for the lethal stabbing of Iryna, plus the state charge of first-degree murder. If convicted, he could face the death penalty. Here is Attorney General Pam Bondi.
CNN's Van Jones says white people have racist virus in their brain that activates in an instant.
His or her brain that can be activated at an instant. And so what you're seeing now is a curtain falling away. And those of us who have been burdened by this every minute, every second of our entire lives are fragile right now. So even the most liberal, well-intentioned white person has a virus in his or her brain that can be activated.
That's the kind of rhetoric that causes people to act. The North Carolina GOP is torching liberals for allowing crime to rage through their state. This is the fire we need to see, and now they need to get to work revoking all soft on crime policies.
Don't look. My name is Kyle Kirby. I am the chairman of the Mecklenburg County Republican Party. The full video of Iryna Zarutska's murder has now been released. Don't look away. Don't turn your heads. Don't shut your eyes. Watch it. Because she had no choice but to look evil in the face. Her final moments were moments of terror, pain, and loneliness. While no one was able to lift a hand on that car to help her, you can see the killer walking away with his knife dripping in blood in chilling indifference. It is horrific. It is excruciating, but it must be seen by the public. Because these are not isolated tragedies. This is a result of failed policies, weak leadership, and a judicial system that protects criminals instead of innocent individuals. What the Democrats call restorative justice looks like Iryna Zarutska's murder. The suffering of you and your loved ones for their gain. Shame on the Mecklenburg County justice system. You failed to incarcerate an individual who had been arrested previously 14 times. Shame on the civic leadership of Charlotte. You failed to protect the very people you swore to serve. And shame on Mayor Lyles. You failed to offer anything other than platitudes and pandering instead of real, meaningful leadership. Iryna Zarutska died because of the Democrat policies in Charlotte, Mecklenburg. Woke politics that perpetuate cashless bail and refuse to prioritize public safety over appearances. But we have seen these horrific images. The knife dripping in blood, her panic, the silence of others around her. These moments sear into our minds. But let it also ignite our resolve that we must not stand by and watch the Charlotte that we love also die in silence. The time is now to end the experiment of single-party, soft-on-crime governance in Charlotte, Mecklenburg. The time is now to demand cash bail for multiple-time offenders. The time is now to treat criminals like accountable individuals and not entitled persons. So hear me now, Charlotte. On Monday, September 22nd, 30-day anniversary from the death of Iryna Zarutska, at 8 p.m. at the East-West Boulevard Light Rail Station, I call on every able-bodied Charlottean and person in this city who is concerned about crime to turn out to a candlelight vigil in Iryna Zarutska's honor. We will stand shoulder to shoulder, defying silence and showing the world that we will not let her death be erased by complicit media partners. I call on people from every background, every political stripe, every nationality, join us now. Help end the woke narratives and the broken leadership and the system that sacrificed this woman's life to evil. Remember, Iryna Zarutska survived in Ukraine in a bomb shelter. In war-torn Ukraine, she made her way from that country to Charlotte, seeking refuge and promise, and she was given the edge of a knife. She died because of our complacency and what we have allowed to perpetuate in the Charlotte municipal and county government. Iryna, I'm sorry for that. This November, wake up. Charlotte, wake up. Vote to defeat the agenda that has cost her life. Vote to restore safety. Vote to restore common sense. And vote to restore accountability in Charlotte, Mecklenburg. I implore you to vote for new leaders now. Thank you.
This is only the beginning. Soft on crime policies are clearly the reason why this man was allowed to walk free and murder this innocent woman. And that needs to stop. It needs to end now. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. It's time for my final thought. Now, I did watch that full video, and it broke something in me. Iryna survived the war zone only to die on American soil because our justice system values criminals over victims. 14 arrests, 14. Each judge who freed Decarlos Brown has blood on their hands. The magistrate judges, who didn't even need law degrees, setting killers loose. The DA, whose plea bargain away public safety, they all enabled this execution. Brown himself admitted, I got that white girl, before spinning tales about government implants making him kill. CNN called him a man who was hurting. I'll tell that to Iryna's family. Tell that to the Ukrainian community who welcomed her here. President Trump demanded death for this animal, and he's right. Matt Walsh called for the judge in chains, and he's right too. So here's my question. Should judges who repeatedly free violent criminals face criminal charges when those criminals kill? Drop a yes or no. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.